What's up, Moz here. Are you in the market for new lowering springs for your 2018 up Mustang GT equipped with the Magneride and have been considering the Ford Performance M5300W? Then this video might help you out in your decision, as I've been running those springs for 15,000 miles or 25,000 kilometers or so. I do no longer own the car, but still I wanted to make this video in order for help you guys out there considering lowering springs for your GT equipped with a Magneride then. These springs were developed for the 2015 to 2018 GT350 and GT350R, so they are as such not designed for the GT, but they will fit and they will work. And also later on in the video we will talk about a package which include these springs then for the GT. I will also in the video cover the most popular different other options from different vendors that are available for the GT with regards to lowering and stiffening up your suspension compared to stock then. The M5300W are linear springs that will lower a GT350 or GT350R with 20 millimeters according to the specifications of the springs. On the GT, I cannot honestly tell you how much they lowered my car, at least because the springs were installed before I did receive my car. However, what I can tell you is that you will not get that flush look where there barely is any gap between the tire and the fender, because if a car equipped with Magneride is lowered too much, the sensors will go haywire, so you cannot lower a car equipped with Magneride or similar too much. The variants from the competitors lower the car with similar amount of drop due to the reason I just mentioned. In my opinion, from a looks point of view, 5mm more drop would have been the sweet spot, but with that said then we don't want to mess too much with the sensors on the car, hence why we cannot have a lower or we cannot have more drop. So for those of you who are thinking of buying a Mustang and want to have that flush look with regards to the gap between the tire and fenders, you might want to consider purchasing a car without the Magneride and go for other types of springs or shocks. Now let's talk about what really matters, and that is how the car behaves with these springs mounted. As I mentioned, I have not driven my car in stock form as I got the car with the springs installed. I also had aftermarket 20-inch wheels, 20-inch width on the fronts and 11-inch width on the rears. And I was running two 75/35 section tires on the fronts, and on the rears I started off with two 95/35 section tires, and then I switched on and went over to 305/30s with Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires. The car was also equipped with BMR's CB005 cradle lockout kit, and also most of the miles I did do with the car, I had diff bushings installed, the red ones from Steeda. Now let's talk about ride quality, and let's start with the comfort. From a ride quality point of view, and considering that I was running 20-inch wheels, the ride, even with the lowering springs, was truly great. Most of it was more or less thanks to the Magneride system itself. In normal mode, the car soaked up bumps and cracks so smoothly, considering the type of car and also then the wheels. In my opinion, in normal mode with the 20-inch wheels, the car behaved more or less like normal cars, or in some cases even better, because some cars are equipped with so-called sport setup or whatever you want to call it, and those actually have a much more harsh ride even with 18-inch wheels as an example. So for me, the comfort when driving in normal mode was excellent. However, everything is relative. Now let's talk about the performance aspect of these springs. This section might be of interest or not, depending then how you drive your car and how much you push it. Unfortunately, I never had the opportunity to take my car to the track. However, with that said, I have a pretty good feel on how these springs perform when you push it, even though I have just been running the car on the street then. And also the points I will make now is when the car was in track mode then. In general, putting the car in track mode, it will of course stiffen up the dampers as the Magneride system works in that way. However, the ride was, in my opinion, still not overly harsh in any way. But if you would hit a pothole in this setting, that would be not good for your suspension, nor would it be any good for your wheels then. In track mode, the front of the car felt really good. It felt planted. It gave me great turn-in and I had a lot of grip. However, we need to keep in mind that I was running 275 section Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires. The front of the car gave confidence and felt tight, even though I didn't have aftermarket sway bars. However, I need to mention that the car was a performance pack 1 car with some updated chassis and suspension parts from the get-go. Looking to the rear of the car, this is where I personally feel that these springs were too soft. Even on the street when pushing the car, the rear did not feel as composed and confident in spraying as the fronts. Sometimes I would almost feel how the rear end would squat when taking a corner in good speed. And again, then this was on the street, so I can't say how it would feel on the track, but I would assume it will be a similar type of experience. I cannot rule out that everything was done properly when the springs were installed, but we have to assume that that was the case. However, what I can say is that the bushings were not clocked on the pivot points. We will get to what clocking bushings mean or being re-indexed later on in the video. However, if you are lowering your car, this is a must. I did, however, get my bushings clocked at a shop, and still the rear to me felt a bit sloppy from time to time, and I believe these springs are too soft for the rear suspension for the S550 if you're just then running springs. So that is something to keep in mind and consider depending how you will drive your car. I will now show a video what I mean with that the springs are too soft in the rear. So this video I shot when they were clocking my bushings, and the tech actually said, I have never seen a car that is this soft, a bit over exaggerated, but you will get my point. My conclusion is that if you just want to run springs and you will drive spiritly and or will be tracking your car, I would recommend you to go for BMR's handling springs or Steeda's dual rate competition springs. I think they will suit the car much better, especially in the rear. With that said, Ford Performance do have a package with the M5300W springs. They will also include front and rear sway bars, and also what is most interesting is a retune of the Magneride ECU to work with these components. And I think this would be the best middle ground because the tune would then be optimized for the springs and also your sway bars. This is actually a really neat package, and it will run you somewhere around $900 to $1,000. However, I'm not sure how it will impact your car's warranty because you're actually then tuning the ECU, and even if you switch back to your OEM tune, I guess Ford can see that and can always say your warranty is voided for your Magneride dampers. I have not seen that the tune itself can be bought separately. It's only included in this package, so you wouldn't be able, as far as I know at least, to take the tune from this package and apply it when you have installed BMR's or Steeda's counterpart. With that said, then I don't think it will be any good idea as such, because the tune is then mapped towards the M5300W springs and with the sway bars in this kit then. While you are at it and switching out your springs, again then depending on what your end game is, I would consider mounting camber caster plates on the fronts, because from an OEM perspective there is no option to set the camber. There are camber bolts which can be bought for, I don't know, 40 bucks or so. However, I don't think they are a good option if you will be tracking your car. Coming to the rear, I have seen and read that people, and including myself, I went to different shops and they said that the rear camber cannot be set on the S550. That is actually not true. There is one bolt on each side which can be used to actually set the camber. It's a little bit cumbersome, but it is possible. If you want to have more adjustability, there are camber arms for the rear which you can purchase in order to do so. Now on to one of the most important topics apart from a four-wheel alignment after you have lowered your car, and that is to re-index or clock the bushings. All pivot points with rubber bushing should be clocked, and I say all of them. The geometry of the suspension changes when you lower your car, and you get unhealthy tension twist on your rubber bushings themselves, which can lead to the bushings can get prematurely worn out, that the car feels sloppy and floaty. This is one of the first things I noticed when my bushings were re-indexed, that the reel really felt tighter. Again, then, I mean, who doesn't like a tight? It can also lead to that the car could sit uneven. That was the case for me as well. So the right hand side was actually sitting lower than the left hand side before I did re-index my bushings. And also in the same topic, the drop of the car might not be as much as expected, because then there is tension on the bushings. So when you clock the bushings, the car will actually settle and will have a lower stance. You can re-index or clock your bushings yourself in your garage if you have ramps or wheel cribs. However, looking at the torque specs and also looking how much force that was required to actually get the bolts loose, I would consider if you should let someone else do it with the appropriate tools and lifts, etc., because lying on your back and doing this kind of job will be really difficult, I think, to even get to the different areas you need to, and also then get the force you need to actually to loosen the bolts. What is key is also that this needs to be done when you have the load on all four wheels on a flat surface. You can do both sides at once, so meaning on the rear you can do both left and right at once. So loosening all the bolts, etc., you can do so in the rear at once, and then also you could actually try to push down on the rear a bit or sit in the trunk to actually get those bushings to set, and then you need to re-torque everything back to spec and you are good to go. There is a great thread on Mustang 6G covering this. In that thread, the torque specs and which bolts we're talking about, etc., everything is given there, so do have a look. And for me personally, before clocking or re-indexing the bushings, I didn't even consider doing so. But once I did, I actually feel and know why it is important to do so. Some shops forget it. Some people don't even know about it, me included. So this is why I am actually talking about it in this video. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was my 2 cents. If you have any questions, just hit me up in the comment sections below and I will try to answer them the best I can. Over and out.